The legend of Yang Nu says that a special medicine is given to a young girl to make her body pliable. She is then squeezed into a narrow jar and worshipped in a yin chamber for an entire month, undergoing a transformation to become a Yang Nu. Grandmother said that with Yang Nu, whatever you wish for, you will get. But she only spoke half the truth. The full saying should be, whatever you wish for, you will get, but you must pay with your life, not enjoy it. My name is Sanya, the third daughter of the Zhang family. Above me were two older sisters, eldest sister and second sister. A few days ago, mother gave birth to another girl. While mother was still recovering, father and grandmother dragged her out and beat her within an inch of her life. In this village, girls were considered worthless, unprofitable, sky ducks. Mother giving birth to 4 daughters in a row became the laughingstock of the entire village during tea and post-dinner conversations. Father spent his days sullen and head-bowed, and when he wasn't drinking, he would drag my sisters and me out to beat us to vent his anger. All the dirty, heavy chores in the house fell to us. At meal times, my sisters and I were never allowed at the table. We only ate the family's leftovers from chipped bowls in a corner. If there was a lot left, we might get a half-full stomach. If there was little, we just drank more plain water to stave off hunger. However, no matter how careful and cautious we were, we couldn't escape our tragic fate. Eldest sister was sold by grandmother to an old bachelor in the village for 10,000 yuan. In less than 3 years, she was beaten to death by that old man. I still remember clearly receiving eldest sister's body. Fresh blood was splattered all over the room. She wore no clothes, and her face was beaten beyond recognition, flesh pulped and bones shattered. Father not only failed to seek justice for her but carelessly wrapped her in a tattered quilt, dug a shallow hole, and hastily buried her. Grandmother kept muttering, "Such bad luck, truly a waste." She even promised the old man that when second sister grew up, she would sell her to him too, but for more than 10,000. In the end, right in front of eldest sister's corpse, they haggled and settled on 15,000 yuan. I watched second sister grow rounder and plumper each day, and grandmother's eyes gleamed brighter as she looked at her. One night, second sister disappeared. People in the village searched for an entire day but found no trace of her. Grandparents returned home, cursing loudly. I, however, felt joyful, secretly hoping she had escaped this village. A few days earlier, second sister had secretly told me that old man Yang, the peddler in the village, had agreed to take her away. She just had to wait a few more days. If she lived well outside, she would definitely come back for me. After second sister disappeared, all the heavy work in the house fell on my shoulders. I dared not complain, fearing grandmother would sell me to that old man. After all, I was only a year younger than second sister. A month passed like this. On the first day of the month, father and grandfather carried a large red jar from outside. As soon as they entered the courtyard, grandmother rushed out to greet them, anxiously asking. It was successful. Father stomped his feet excitedly. It was successful. Then he eagerly opened the lid of the jar. Mother, holding my newborn youngest sister, also rushed over. They all crowded around the jar, exclaiming in awe as if it contained some treasure. My curiosity urged me to peek closer. When I clearly saw what was inside the jar, I nearly fainted from fright. It was a girl wearing a demon mask. Her entire body was curled up in the cramped jar, silent and motionless. Yet the girl was not dead. The eyes behind the mask still darted around in the gloom. Tears streamed incessantly from those eyes. I couldn't imagine a living person being stuffed into that small, narrow jar and enduring such horrific pain. Grandmother said it was called Yang Nu, and it could bless a family to have a son. She also warned me never to speak of it outside, or she would cut out my tongue. They carried Yang Nu out of the jar, placed her in a corner, and covered her with a cloth. For the first few days, they gave Yang Nu nothing to eat, nor did they allow anyone near her. When I was cleaning, I accidentally got a little too close and was cursed and beaten by grandmother. It was strange that although Yang Nu ate nothing, she didn't starve to death. On the 7th day, grandmother brought a bowl of finely pureed meat porridge and fed Yang Nu spoonful by spoonful. Grandfather, standing beside her, asked, "Is this method foolproof?" Grandmother's face beamed. "Absolutely. That high master is very effective. Just drink a cup of Yang Nu's tears every day for 7 days straight, and you're guaranteed to have a grandson." Grandfather happily rubbed his hands, urging grandmother to quickly collect some tears for my mother to drink. The strange thing was, from that day on, I never heard my youngest sister cry again. 7 days later, mother became pregnant. Overnight, Mother's belly swelled, looking even larger than a 3-month pregnancy. Grandparents were overjoyed. They hastily stewed a pot of pork ribs, giving the broth only to Mother. I smelled the fragrant meat and unconsciously licked my chapped lips. A doubt arose in my mind. When did our family buy ribs? Where did the bones for stewing come from? Father forbade me from asking too many questions, fiercely warning me not to wander around. The news that old man Zhang's wife was pregnant with a son spread throughout the village in half a day. A crowd of gossip lovers rushed to our house. Mother triumphantly lifted her shirt, showing off her belly to the village women. "This baby is definitely a son." Old woman Li, the village's resident busybody, said sourly, "Old man Zhang's wife, you've given birth to 4 daughters already. This one is surely another girl." Mother was furious. She pointed her finger and said mysteriously, "This time it's definitely a son. My family has a treasure." The crowd gasped, saying Mother had gone crazy wanting a son. However, 4 months later, an ultrasound at the hospital confirmed it was indeed a boy. From then on, people in the village often used excuses to visit, lingering in our house. They made small talk with my parents, trying to find out what the treasure for having a son actually was, but no one could extract any information. Then, one day, Father got drunk, brought a drinking buddy home, and showed him Yang Nu. The buddy screamed in fright as if he'd seen a ghost, then ran away. By the next day, the entire village knew. The village chief led people to our doorstep. "Old man Zhang, Wang said you're hiding a monster in your house. What's going on?" After seeing Wang run away, Father was so scared he sobered up, frantically seeking grandparents for a solution. Grandmother assured Father not to worry, nothing would happen, and moreover, our family was about to get rich. When the village chief finished asking, Grandmother said cryptically, leading the crowd to the corner. She pulled back the cloth, revealing Yang Nu to everyone. Everyone gasped, but the village chief remained calm. "This is Yang Nu." Grandmother looked at him in surprise. "That's right." The village chief's eyes darted around. He said sternly, "What your family is doing is illegal. You'll go to jail." Grandmother's eyebrows shot up. "This is my second sister, my own granddaughter. I can do whatever I want with her. What illegal nonsense are you talking about?" "Second sister?" Grandmother said Yang Nu was second sister. My mind instantly went blank, tears streaming down my face. I thought second sister had escaped. It turned out she had been taken and turned into Yang Nu. "Grandmother, second sister, what you're doing is wrong. This is intentional grievous bodily harm, punishable by prison. How can you be so cruel to your own granddaughter? Not long ago, you said she got lost. You're truly robbers crying foul." The villagers condemned Grandmother, one after another. Grandmother put on a defiant face, unafraid, and scoffed. "What are you all doing pretending to be righteous with me? Let me tell you, this is the treasure that helped my family have a son. By then, any family wanting a son will have to consider my mood." The crowd's expressions immediately changed, and no one spoke up. Old woman Li cautiously asked, "Elder sister, is this really guaranteed to give a son?" Grandmother gave her a disdainful look. "Why don't you bring your lover to try it out? 500 a time, guaranteed to turn an old rooster into a jade rooster." Everyone burst into exclamations. Old woman Li's face turned beet red, and she slunk away. "If you don't get a son, will you refund the money?" Grandmother thumped her chest loudly. "Refund? Continuing the family line is a big deal in this village." The village chief said nothing further, tacitly approving the matter. Indeed, 2 families in the village went home to get money that very evening and paid a deposit. That night, Grandmother excitedly circled Yang Nu no, second sister, all night, muttering the words "gold nugget" repeatedly. The next morning, Grandmother was in a very good mood. Unprecedentedly, she allowed me to eat at the table. It was the first time I had ever sat at the family table. Mother personally peeled a boiled egg for me. She stroked my arm, her expression complex. "It might hurt a little later, just bear with it for a bit and it'll be over." After saying that, she gave me another egg. Before I could react, Father tied my hands and feet with a rope. Then, Grandmother handed him a sharp knife. I screamed in terror, "Father, don't kill me, I'll be good. From now on, I can eat only once every 3 days. I'll do any work. When I grow up and earn money, I'll give it all to you. Please, Father, spare me." Grandmother barked sinisterly. "You damned brat, shut up. If you cry again, I'll cut out your tongue." After saying that, she slapped my face hard. "Hurry, hold her arms." Mother covered my mouth, gave a meaningful look, then quickly grabbed my arms, holding them tightly. I trembled, pleading, "Mother, I'm scared." Mother looked at me with a complex expression. Just bear with it a little." With that, she winked at Father. Father raised the knife and decisively cut a piece of flesh from my arm. I shrieked miserably, convulsing from the pain and struggling wildly. Grandmother grabbed a rag and stuffed it tightly into my mouth. "You damned brat, what are you howling about? Crying to increase your value. If you weren't still useful, I would have sold you long ago." After taking the flesh, they untied me. The coarse rope chafed against my wound, making me tremble with pain. With tears in my eyes, I looked at Mother and said, "Mother, it hurts." A flicker of reluctance crossed her eyes, but she didn't remove the rag from my mouth. She only nodded to Father. Father immediately pressed me down, his voice low. "Pour a lot on it, don't let it get infected. We'll have to cut more tomorrow." "Pour what?" I was terrified, struggling with all my might. Grandmother rushed over and kicked me in the face. "You wretched thing, lie still or I'll skin you." She glared at Mother. "Pour it on, quickly." This time, Mother no longer hesitated. She coldly took a bottle of white liquor and poured it directly onto my wound. "Ah, it hurts so much, it hurts!" I screamed incessantly, writhing wildly. Grandmother kicked me twice in quick succession. Seeing me still struggling, she cursed viciously and swung a chair, hitting my head hard. The intense pain made my vision go black. I rolled my eyes back and fainted. Before losing consciousness, I heard Father grumble, "Mother, you hit too hard, don't kill her. We still need to cut more tomorrow." When I woke up, my arm was numb. The wound was exposed to the air, the skin around it burned white by the liquor. Mother was sitting nearby. I thought she felt sorry for me and had come to check on me. Seeing me awake, she just said indifferently, "Get up quickly and drink all this red sugar water. We still need to cut more tomorrow, don't you dare die. Don't you dare die." I gnashed my teeth, repeating those words. I hated them so much. Tears streamed down my cheeks and into my mouth. It was so bitter. "Sanya, don't blame Mother for being cruel. Blame yourself for your bitter fate for being born a girl. Our mother-daughter bond is for one lifetime. Don't blame Mother for being heartless. After Mother gives birth to a son, I'll ask Grandmother to marry you off. Marrying an old bachelor is still better than this." Before I could react, she roughly lifted my head and poured the sugar water into my mouth. Sugar water is supposed to be sweet, but why did it taste so bitter in my mouth? Among the two families who initially placed a deposit, one was Wang Er's, the man who was scared away by second sister Yang Nu the other day. Wang Er was over 40 this year and had been married 3 times, yet he had neither a son nor even a single daughter. The villagers often mocked him behind his back as a sterilization machine. He was a hooligan and a ruffian, indulging in drinking, women, gambling, and fighting, so no one in the village dared to offend him. Therefore, they only dared to whisper behind his back. Originally, Grandmother intended to personally deliver the medicine to his wife, but Wang Er insisted on supervising it himself, fearing Grandmother would give his wife something unclean. So, almost the entire village came, surrounding our small courtyard 3 layers deep. In truth, they just wanted to see how the Yang Nu would manifest her powers. The first day they heard the story, they were vague, but now they understood. After all, whose family didn't have daughters? This profitable money-making trick could be applied by any family. Father hesitated a little, seeing such a large crowd, but Grandmother was very generous. She pushed me, telling me to hurry and bring it out. As soon as I came out of the woodshed, seeing such a large crowd, I was scared and tried to hide back inside. Mother grabbed me tightly and yanked me out. I clung to the door frame for dear life, refusing to let go. The woodshed door creaked. Grandmother rushed over, grabbed my hair from behind, and threw me to the ground. Then she straddled me, punching my face repeatedly. "You damned brat, you still dare to run?" I desperately screamed for help, but no one came to my aid. They were either curious onlookers or coldly indifferent. Grandmother grew tired of hitting me, so she told Father to drag me up and then tied me to a pillar in the main house for the entire village to see. I knew what was about to happen. Horrified, I looked at the crowd. Help me, help me! But the villagers were all watching with keen interest, waiting to see what the next step would be. No one paid any attention to me, some even urged Father to hurry up to stop delaying. "All right," Father said, pulling out the sharp knife. Along with my scream, he cut another piece of flesh from my other arm. I shrieked miserably, but my cries were drowned out by the noisy crowd. "Old man Zheng is quite quick with his knife, isn't he?" "Yeah, look at that clean cut. To be honest, old man Zheng's third sister is quite fair-skinned. It's a shame to cut her flesh." Ha ha, no one cared about me. Because I was unprofitable, if I died, I would just be hastily buried in a shallow grave. Grandmother triumphantly held up the piece of flesh for everyone to see. What if your families have many daughters? Let me tell you, don't even think about competing with me for this business. It has to be her own flesh and blood to be effective, and she must be a virgin." Everyone looked awkward, denying it in unison. "Elder sister, what are you saying? We're just curious onlookers." Grandmother snorted, told Mother to take the meat to the kitchen, and I, seemingly forgotten, remained tied and abandoned on the ground. The crowd craned their necks, watching to see what Mother would do with the meat. Grandmother looked mysterious. A moment later, the fragrant smell of cooked meat wafted from the house. Half an hour later, Mother brought out a bowl of finely pureed meat. Grandmother told Father to carry Yang Nu out and place her on a table. Then she pulled back the covering cloth. Although they had seen it before, everyone still gasped. Someone whispered, "The Zhang family is truly cruel." The comment reached Grandmother's sharp ears. Grandmother said blandly, "Calling me cruel? Fine, then I won't accept your business." That person quickly apologized to Grandmother and even promised to add 200 yuan. Grandmother's face beamed with pride. It was the first time she had ever felt so honored. Immediately after, she told Mother to feed Yang Nu the pureed meat spoonful by spoonful. After Yang Nu finished eating, Grandmother collected a full cup of Yang Nu's tears and made Wang Er's wife drink it on the spot. 7 days later, Wang Er's wife was pregnant. Initially, everyone maintained a watchful attitude, but now everyone believed it wholeheartedly. People scrambled to book appointments with Grandmother, who also raised the price. "There's only so much flesh on my third sister. If I cut too much and she dies, don't blame me if it's not your turn. First come, first served." The price rose to 2,000 yuan, but that didn't deter anyone's enthusiasm. Still, many people came begging. Grandmother's hands ached from collecting money, and she happily counted money every day. Because too many people begged, and I couldn't have all my flesh cut off, I was still the main laborer in the house. Grandmother started accepting only one client every half-month. However, joy was short-lived. Yang Nu suddenly stopped crying. At first, Grandmother thought she was dehydrated, so she desperately poured water into second sister's mouth, but no matter how much she drank, she wouldn't shed a tear. Then she tried many different methods, all to no avail. Second sister just stared at them with wide eyes, showing no reaction. Finally, the village chief heard about it and paid a visit. He walked around second sister, then whispered a few words into Grandmother's ear. Grandmother dragged me over and began slapping my face right in front of second sister. Each slap was harder than the last, leaving my entire face swollen and red. While hitting me, she incessantly forced me to beg for forgiveness. However, second sister's face remained emotionless. Grandmother grew tired of hitting me and threw me aside. Mother sat on the ground, sobbing, looking at second sister with venom in her eyes. Suddenly, she wiped her tears and crawled to Grandmother's feet. "Mother, our second sister, she loves Sanya the most." Grandmother's eyes lit up, her spirits visibly lifted. She told Father to place me in front of second sister, then the sharp knife slowly approached me. Second sister cried. Her tears fell like rain. Mother stared at second sister, excitedly shouting, "It worked." "It worked, second sister." Then, overwhelmed with anger, she cursed second sister. "You ungrateful brat, I beat you and you wouldn't cry, you wretch, you truly deserve to die." Unable to touch second sister, she rushed over and pinched and scratched me. There wasn't a single unblemished piece of flesh on my body. She aimed right for my old wounds and tore at them. From that day on, whenever second sister wouldn't cry, they would drag me out and torment me. At the same time, a special guest appeared before us. Do you remember old man Yang, the peddler who once promised to take second sister away? One night, he secretly snuck into the house and told me, "Don't be scared, Uncle will rescue both of you sisters. Last time I couldn't take your sister, but this time I will definitely get you out." He even peeled a sweet candy for me. I suddenly felt that life seemed to hold hope. The next day, old man Yang brought a man to our house. The man looked gentle and refined, his pristine white shirt sleeves rolled up to his elbows, his smile clean and bright. He said his aunt had been childless for many years and, hearing of a secret method in the village to pray for children, was willing to pay a high price. He had one condition. He wanted to take both Yang Nu and me. We were the gold nuggets of the family. Grandparents would never agree. The man said he would only borrow us for a month and was willing to pay 200,000 yuan. As soon as Grandmother heard 200,000, her eyes lit up. After all, Mother was already pregnant with a son. After some careful calculations, she agreed. The man immediately paid 200,000 in cash on the spot and took second sister and me away. On the way, I heard old man Yang call the man Mr. Chu. Mr. Chu had his men put second sister into a transparent glass tank. I was afraid second sister would suffocate, so I desperately tried to stop them, but his men were too numerous, and I couldn't get close. So, filled with hatred, I opened my mouth and bit down hard on Mr. Chu's hand, which was standing nearby. I clenched my teeth tightly, refusing to let go. He just quietly watched me. It wasn't until I calmed down that he pulled out his blood-soaked hand and explained to me, "Little girl, that glass tank is sterile. There's oxygen inside." After confirming that this was true, I lowered my head in shame. I stammered, my face red, apologizing to him. He just smiled and patted my head. "Little girl, no one will be able to bully you anymore." I smelled a faint fragrance on him, like sunshine. Mr. Chu invited a family doctor to treat my wounds, applying the best medicines. I also had my own room, not only well-fed and warmly clothed, but also receiving Mr. Chu's attention every day. I felt I had never been so happy. Every day, I visited second sister. Her room was even larger than mine, with many intricate machines whose names I didn't know. Mr. Chu said they were to monitor second sister's health in real time to prevent her internal organs from necroticizing. I was deeply moved, constantly asking what he wanted, how I could repay him. Each time, he gently said, "You don't need to repay me, just getting healthy is enough." Gradually, my skin grew back. Although there were still uneven scars, I was still very happy. Mr. Chu was also very happy, often taking me out to play and buying me all kinds of beautiful dresses. I gradually became more and more dependent on him, increasingly unable to be without him. If he was absent from home for a day, I would feel restless and uncomfortable. I thought I had fallen in love with him, my entire mind focused on him. The number of times I visited second sister became fewer and fewer. Much later, when I visited, Mr. Chu said second sister was in a deep sleep and could not be disturbed casually. In the days without second sister, my eyes and heart were filled only with Mr. Chu. Not long after, he disappeared. Half a month later, I saw Mr. Chu again. He lay weakly in a hospital bed, tubes inserted all over his body. I buried my face in his palm, tears streaming down. "My silly girl, don't cry, it will break my heart." I cried even more violently. "I love you." His smile, his eyes, and his bright, sparkling eyes, my reflection shone. At that moment, I swore that if only I could save him, I would do anything. "Wait until you're 18 and we'll get married." He slowly stroked my hair, whispering, 18 is the best age for childbirth. By then, we can have many children." I nodded, smiling happily. I began to look forward to turning 18 until I met another girl. The girl wore a splendid voile dress, exquisitely made up, intimately arm in arm with Mr. Chu. I only dared to watch from afar. I should have rushed over to confront them, but for some reason, I fled. I saw Mr. Chu looking at the girl with doting affection, even tenderly pinching her nose. That feeling was completely different from how he treated me. My heart ached, feeling as if something had been stolen from me. Although I had nothing to begin with, I cowardly ran away. I even forgot to bring second sister. When I reached the main road, I felt disoriented. I hid under a bridge, crying softly. Night fell, and I started to feel scared, regretting my impulsiveness. I didn't know how to get back. Suddenly, I heard the voice of the Chu family's butler. Voices from afar grew closer. "You useless fools, how did you let that brat escape? She's the catalyst. If we lose her, we'll all die. Go find the catalyst, quickly." The catalyst was referring to me. I stared down at the still water. Watching the ripples spread, I slowly smiled. I slowly walked out from under the bridge, deliberately letting the Chu family members discover me, then followed them back. As soon as I entered the living room, a porcelain vase was thrown and shattered at my feet. Mr. Chu's face, which had been full of anger, immediately calmed when he saw me. He rushed over and embraced me tightly. "My silly girl, where did you go? I thought you were lost." I lowered my head, silent. His eyes stared at me. "Why did you leave?" I raised my swollen red eyes, tears instantly gushing out. "I saw you walking with another woman on the street, and I felt upset." The corner of Mr. Chu's mouth curved slightly upward, then quickly dropped. He used an overbearing tone to comfort me. "Foolish girl, that's my younger sister. Don't be jealous anymore, okay?" I meekly lowered my head, pretending not to see the cruelty flashing in his eyes, and promised not to misunderstand him again. My running away had given him a sense of crisis, so he decided not to postpone the wedding any longer. We would marry quickly, not waiting until I turned 18. I shyly agreed. I only had one condition. The wedding would be held at 9:00 a.m. I continued to obediently wait to become the new bride. Throughout the wedding preparations, Mr. Chu's exhaustion was evident. My obedience made them lower their guard. On the day of the wedding, I secretly snuck into Second Sister's room. As soon as I entered, Second Sister, who had been in a coma, suddenly opened her eyes wide. I embraced Second Sister, slowly pushing open the side door of the wedding hall. Originally, when the wedding began, Mr. Chu and I would walk onto the stage from this very spot. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Everyone looked at me. I smiled faintly. Very good, everyone is here. My patience over the past few days was not in vain. Mr. Chu, still in his neat suit, frowned, then awkwardly walked towards me. Why did you bring Second Sister out here? I didn't answer him. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the brightly lit hall instantly plunged into darkness. Who turned off the lights? Security checked the circuit breaker. At the same time, the cry of a baby rang out. Then, cries followed cries as if countless infants were crawling from all directions. What is that sound? The hall immediately descended into chaos, followed by continuous, desperate screams. A long time later, finally, nothing more was heard. Second Sister, you've worked hard. I smirked. The Chu family, including the wedding guests, a total of 116 people, were all dead. I had endured for over 6 months, and finally, I sent these beasts away cleanly. From the first glance at Mr. Chu, I knew he was even more sinister than grandmother, because he carried the resentment of children. Ever since Second Sister ate my flesh, we had developed a kind of telepathic connection. I could feel her thoughts. She said the smell of blood on Mr. Chu was very strong, and behind him followed a group of deceased infants. That was his karma. After arriving at the Chu family home, I silently watched him play his games, seeing what his methods were. At the same time, I secretly investigated. From fragmented information, I discovered that his business turned out to be a black market surrogacy ring. They used illegal means to deceive young girls, including many university students, then turn them into birthing machines, continuously forcing them to become pregnant and give birth. If the fetus was a girl, it would be aborted. If it was a boy, it would be sold at a high price to the client. That was also why so many deceased infants followed Mr. Chu. And when these women were no longer able to give birth, they would remove all their internal organs and sell them cheaply. The appearance of my sister and me also opened up a new avenue for his business. Although I was alone, my flesh was limited, but his business needed longevity, not a quick fix. Therefore, he conceived the idea of making me have children. My children would be the new catalyst, whose flesh could be cut to feed Second Sister. As long as I continued to give birth, Yang Nu would continuously have blood tears, and the pregnant women would continuously give birth to sons. And the candidate for father, of course, was him. Only then would the business truly be in his hands. He wanted me to love him to death and back, to willingly bear children for him, making Second Sister consider me family and devote herself to me. After all, in his eyes, women's minds were simple, easily muddled by love, and even easier to change their minds and follow him. However, he, like grandmother, did not know that the ways of heaven are cyclical, and evil deeds are met with evil retribution. I stepped into the sunlight, leaving the Chu family home. Who would be next? That night, grandmother suddenly found Second Sister standing right at the doorstep. Since Mr. Chu took us away, more than 6 months had passed without a word. She thought we wouldn't return. Unexpectedly, we found our way back ourselves. Our sudden appearance filled her with boundless joy. She shrieked, calling father. Her cries not only called father but also several neighbors who rushed over. Their eyes lit up when they saw Second Sister. Not everyone in the village could have a son. This should have been a joyful occasion, but grandmother was in a difficult position. The gold nugget for making money was back, but I had disappeared without a trace. Without me to cut flesh, this gold nugget was useless. The villagers didn't know that. They only saw Yang Nu return, but wondered why old man Zhang's family hadn't started business for several days. Since our family had 200,000 yuan, spending became extravagant. Grandfather and father became obsessed with gambling. The two were famous in the area for having lots of money but being foolish, so they were immediately trapped. In a flash, 200,000 was completely gone, and they owed a mountain of debt. Fortunately, tonight they didn't lose, they had just signed the debt papers. Someone asked, "Father, your second sister is back, why aren't you doing business?" Other side, because third sister is dead, there's no flesh for the catalyst. That person's eyes darted around, offering a suggestion. "Isn't your wife also a woman?" Father held him back and waved his hand. "No, she said it has to be a virgin." That person chuckled. "She's just afraid you'll compete for business with her. In my opinion, as long as it's blood-related, it'll work." Father's eyes lit up, and he rushed home. He didn't go home immediately, but went straight to the village chief's house. Early the next morning, I heard grandmother's miserable screams. Grandfather skillfully hadn't been home for the past few days. Father tied grandmother to the pillar where he used to tie me, using the same sharp knife. He cut flesh from her. Having not cut for half a year, his skill was a bit rusty. Mother, with her pregnant belly, stood beside, holding a plate for the flesh. "You beast, I'm your mother." "Mother, you're old now, you won't live many more years, so contribute a little to the family." Then grandmother's miserable screams rang out again. There were still quite a few people in the village who came to watch the commotion. On the first day of business, it was quite good. They earned 4,000 in a short while. Father was still not satisfied, making plans with his gambling friends to try their luck again later. So when he had collected enough flesh, he grabbed a random bottle and poured it directly onto grandmother's wound. The wound immediately smoked white. Grandmother let out a miserable shriek, then fainted. "Oh my God, is this vinegar?" Father also realized he had poured the wrong thing. He looked at the bottle. It was clearly a white liquor bottle. Why was it filled with vinegar? He was eager to go gamble, so he told Mother to find another bottle of liquor to disinfect the wound. Mother, having been oppressed by grandmother for so long, took this opportunity to torment grandmother to vent her anger. Grandmother had just regained consciousness when Mother poured a bottle of white liquor onto her wound, making her scream in pain and faint again. Father gambled all night and lost everything again. He had intended to come back today to continue cutting the old woman's flesh for money, but early in the morning, the police arrived. It wasn't me who called the police. In the early morning mist, police cars were already parked at the door. Father was so scared he couldn't stand straight. Then the village chief arrived and told Father to hide second sister and grandmother in the village's ancestral hall. Thanks to the noisy crowd covering up the situation, the police found nothing and had to leave. When Father asked the village chief to return second sister and grandmother, the village chief's expression changed. "Old man Zhang, continuing the family line is a big deal for the entire village. Your family using this to get rich alone was already wrong. If you bring them back and the police come, I won't be involved anymore." After some haggling, the money earned would be split evenly. Half for the village chief, half for their family. When grandfather returned, forced by Father to share the money earned, he had no choice but to swallow his bitterness. From that day on, grandmother wailed incessantly every day. So the village chief told any family who needed it to help themselves and cut the flesh. Everyone in the village was eager to have a son. After cutting the flesh, they were even too stingy to pour white liquor on grandmother's wounds. Therefore, grandmother's wounds began to fester, and coupled with the hot weather, they smelled putrid. After 3 days, Father would bring food to grandmother once, not wanting to feed her twice a day as before. Before long, grandmother was tormented to the point where she was breathing shallowly. At this point, those in the village who wanted sons had mostly achieved their goals, and no one cared about her life or death anymore. Just when everyone in the village thought she was about to die, something happened at our house. When the village chief arrived, Father and grandfather had both stopped breathing, each stabbed dozens of times. Grandmother's body, right beside them, was also cold. No one knew who had untied grandmother. She had crawled halfway home in the night. Taking advantage of the two men's deep sleep, she took the sharp knife and slit both their throats. Only when she saw Mother's belly did she stop, not killing Mother. Perhaps she thought of her grandson. However, when Mother woke up and saw the horrific scene in the room, she nearly went insane with fear. Immediately after, her belly began to hurt intensely. "She's about to give birth," the village midwife rushed over. She saw Mother's belly suddenly shrink a bit, then swell up again. Something seemed to be wriggling inside. The midwife kneaded Mother's belly with all her might. Mother shrieked in pain. Mother screamed for an entire day and night, her belly growing abnormally large. Finally, Mother's belly split open, and a purplish baby crawled out from within. The midwife screamed in terror and fled, crawling away. The village chief, disbelieving, rushed over, but the baby had vanished without a trace. Second sister also disappeared. They searched the entire village but couldn't find her. The next day, the midwife died in her home, her body shriveled as if all the blood had been sucked out, with a row of sharp teeth marks on her neck. Everyone in the village was terrified. Some rumored it was a divine child, a child of the gods. At the same time, Wang Er's wife went into labor. Wang Er's family, fearing a similar fate to ours, rushed his wife to the county hospital overnight. If it was a divine child, there was no escaping it. This time, Wang Er's wife gave birth smoothly, finishing within 15 minutes of entering the delivery room. The doctors and nurses were calm. It was a plump, fair-skinned boy. Wang Er was still uneasy and had the baby thoroughly examined. After confirming the baby had no problems, he stayed in the hospital for a night, then happily took his wife and child home the next day. Villagers rumored that old man Zhang's family committed too many evil deeds, which was why they gave birth to a monster. But this family had a healthy, plump son. The villagers also breathed a sigh of relief, a weight lifted from their hearts. But early the next morning, Wang Er's entire family was brutally murdered. Both husband and wife died tragically, with horrific wounds on their bodies and a row of teeth marks on their necks. The newborn baby was nowhere to be found. This time, the village truly panicked, especially those families who became pregnant thanks to Yang Nu, all gripped by fear. They stared at their wives' huge bellies, faces filled with dread, fearing their own families would also give birth to demon babies, leading to the murder of their entire households. So, the village chief gathered all the men in the village. Half an hour later, all the pregnant women in the village were herded to the thrashing ground. By now, the thrashing ground was piled high with dry straw. The village chief directed several men to pour gasoline around the thrashing ground. After a shout to light the fire, flames immediately flared up violently from the edge of the straw pile. In an instant, the entire thrashing ground was engulfed in a sea of fire. Suddenly, a thunderous crack echoed. In the sky, a mass of dark clouds slowly gathered. Something seemed to be emerging from the flames, something that consumed like a silkworm devouring leaves, sucking all the dark clouds into its belly. "What's happening? Village chief, what do we do now?" Strange phenomena appeared in the sky, and the villagers panicked, yet they had no more opportunities. The flames instantly soared to the height of 3 stories. Then, dozens of infants crawled out from within the flames. When the police arrived, no one was left alive on the thrashing ground. After examining the scene, the police discovered that the dead men had all walked into the fire themselves. Afterward, the government announced that, under the incitement of the cult, transcending life and death, ascending to perfection, the villagers of Qingyang village had committed mass self-immolation. That very night, the local government instructed schools in villages to organize political education, vigorously eradicating cults and superstitions. I watched the news on TV while feeding second sister a piece of French fry. Oh, I forgot to mention, to keep me, Mr. Chu, before he died, not only gave me a villa but also handed me his primary credit card. I took the card and told him to exchange the card for cash. After all, once he died, his card would be useless. Of course, I also ignored his fleeting worshipful gaze at that moment, but why would I care? I just secretly wished him well in my heart. Poor thing, your days are numbered. I will save your love very well. Remember to reform yourself well in hell. My sister and I will just enjoy the rest of our lives. However, I won't resent him. This is a reward for punishing evil and promoting good after all. Now second sister still has to take the medicine from the High Master, grandmother mentioned, so her body is still soft and unable to move. After some time seeking treatment everywhere, she has greatly improved. Before, she couldn't even get out of bed. However, she still possesses some kind of special ability. Second sister, what did you say? You said that High Master the old woman found is now on Qingfeng Mountain? I smiled. All right, we'll go there. An aside about second sister. Seeing that I was about to turn 16, grandmother said she would sell me to the old bachelor in the village when I turned 16. Eldest sister was beaten to death by that old man. I was afraid of death. So I pretended to be in love with old man Yang, the peddler in the village. He promised to help me escape the village. That day, I painstakingly waited until midnight and secretly snuck out of the house. I went to the agreed meeting place with old man Yang, but I waited and didn't see him. Just as I was about to flee alone along the small path, something suddenly hit the back of my neck hard, knocking me unconscious. When I woke up, I saw grandfather's and father's gloomy faces looking down at me with disdain. I fearfully called out, "Father," he said coldly. "You damned brat, we raised you this big, and you dare to run away with a man? Then stay and contribute a little to this family." I was still hazy, not understanding what they wanted to do until grandfather took out a bag of powdered medicine. I shrieked in panic, crawling out with both hands and feet. Grandfather yelled at father to hold me tight, then poured the pile of black powdered medicine into my mouth. Not long after, I gradually lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I was already stuffed into the jar, becoming Yang Nu. They used me to pray for a son. They didn't know that my tears were formed from resentment. Drinking them, could nothing happen. Later, Old Man Yang brought Mr. Chu. Actually, I killed Old Man Yang myself because the first one to die was him, not even his bones remained. Mr. Chu paid 200,000 to buy me and Third Sister. Third Sister and I had been waiting for half a year for their gathering. Then we eliminated all the scum. Then Third Sister took me home. And that's how the story ended. With no more flesh for the catalyst, just as Third Sister predicted, grandmother became the sacrificial lamb for money. Hearing her miserable screams every day, I felt satisfied. Then Third Sister called the police, and the village chief moved grandmother and me to the ancestral hall in the village. Grandmother's joy ended sooner than expected. When she was almost at her limit, Third Sister cut the ropes that tied her. I transferred a mouthful of resentment to her. She crawled home and cut the throats of both grandfather and father. That night, Mother went into labor, but she couldn't have known that what she had cherished and nurtured in her womb was just a mass of resentment. However, it was all too late. Those who deserved to die would die. Whatever you wish for from Yang Nu, you will get. You have life to take, but no life to enjoy. Who will be next? Ah, yes, the High Master who pointed the way to grandmother. I've decided I must pay him a visit.